Hi there, my name is Aakhu once again, and this is our final installment in the Mastering Monetization video series. I want to thank you for joining us thus far, and quickly I want to recap what we have done, and we're going to get to the meat of today's presentation. If you've been following us along, the first video we looked at why is it that black businesses do not monetize very well and how we can break that spell. In the second video, we looked at the critical mistakes that black entrepreneurs make. If you've used those 7 critical mistakes as parameters for building a business, you should now have a new psychology that is preparing you actively for monetization mastery. So everything up to this point was the buildup, and in today's video, we're going to focus on the solution. We're going to focus on how is it possible for black entrepreneurs to master monetization itself, how you generate money. The solution to the question of how black entrepreneurs become masters at monetization is very simple. Alchemy. What is alchemy? In modern day context, the word alchemy is actually synonymous with the word marketer. They don't really have a difference in terms of what they mean. Alchemy is a more ancient concept, and the marketer is the person today who utilizes the same kind of power, if you will, in today's society. So we're going to contextualize both of these for you so you begin to see how the marketer is the alchemist, and more importantly, how to see yourself now as a black entrepreneur becoming an alchemist. Because as you become an alchemist and as you master the art of alchemy, you will be able to monetize at any level you so desire. The key here is to recognize this one point. Alchemy is your second nature as a black person. If you go into the dictionary and you look up alchemy, alchemy is one of the most interesting words in our language for a couple of reasons. One, it is one of the few words in the English language that almost automatically, when you look up the definition, traces itself to ancient Africa, and particularly ancient Egypt. And so when you look up the word alchemy, they actually tell you that alchemy, as in chem, is also synonymous with the original name of ancient Egypt, which was Kemet, the Black Land. So here we find a people who are very conscious of their blackness and not conscious enough to actually name their nation after their being. It forces us to ask a question. What did being black mean to those ancients? When we look at the word alchemy, we see that by definition, not only does it trace itself back to ancient Egypt or Kem, or the land of Kemet, but it also tells us and informs us of a particular mythology that came out of Kem. So if you've heard the story of alchemy, you've heard that ancient Egyptian priests would use this process to turn a base metal like lead into gold. When you look deeper at the process, they would explain also that the original form of alchemy was actually these ancient priests attempting to be immortal and divine, to share their place in the spectrum of creation, to become co-creators with the divine itself. This is a very critical process and principle for you to understand in monetization. And this is what we want to get to today. Again, our contention is that the Kem, the black person, is naturally an alchemist. They are naturally able to create and naturally able to create value for the world. But in the last epochs of time, we have been shifted and moved and maneuvered, so we've lost sight of ourselves, so we no longer recognize ourselves as the creators of value, and we've positioned ourselves now as people who have others creating value for us. So let me give you a few examples of this alchemy so that you'll be able to grasp it in its totality. If you were to go to the Congo right now, in Africa, Central Africa, and you were walking around on the land there, what you would probably not even notice or recognize is that just below your feet there's an abundance of minerals and resources. For most people there, that really means absolutely nothing. They couldn't be more valueless minerals. Now, some people in the world, some companies in particular, corporate structures, go to the Congo, and by certain means they are able to extract various minerals. And they are able to put those minerals together within a particular formation or structure of an entity, or of a machine, to be more specific. That machine, in this side of the world, for one, is known as a cell phone. In this context, we're speaking particularly of the BlackBerry, which uses minerals from the Congo. And by organizing those minerals in a particular way and structuring the machine in a particular way, they are able to sell that machine to us in America for $500 and more. How is that possible that some minerals that for the people that are in the continent themselves have very little value can be so valuable to people halfway around the world? I argue again that it is alchemy. It is understanding the process of taking something from its base level, whether it's a material, whether it's an idea, whether it's a product, whatever it is, and transforming that into something of value. This is the science that our ancient ancestors knew and mastered. This is the science that we are attempting to bring to you again in this course. I'll give you one more example of alchemy. In the 1970s, there was a guy by the name of Gary Dahl. Gary Dahl, one night, was in a barroom and he was listening to his friends complain about their pets and how difficult it was for them to take care of their pets, how much money they had to spend on their pets. And he listened to the problems that they were having very intently. And he went home one day and he saw, as he was walking, a rock. Now, if you're like me and most other people, when you see a rock, you see a rock. But when Gary saw a rock, Gary saw a solution to some people's problems. And so Gary went ahead and started purchasing these rocks and started packaging these rocks in the exact same format as pets were being packaged and sold. And he came up with this concept that we call the pet rock. That rock, which cost him less than a penny, he sold for about $4 at the time. And within 6 months, he had sold over 3 million of those rocks. Rocks, simple little rocks that he sold because he was able to take that rock and make it valuable for somebody. My wish is that you're grasping this concept and you're beginning to see the potential. Wealth is literally almost always all around you. It's just a matter of, can you take what you have and make it valuable? Can you solve somebody's problem? Can you help them through their fears and frustrations? Because if you can also monetize at a very high level. This is the basis of alchemy, and this is the basis of our ancient science, and this is the basis that the modern conscious mind must utilize to create an abundant reality, to begin to shape the economic dimension that is necessary for complete and total liberation. You look at me now and you say, well, Aunkh, Aakhu, that sounds fantastic, that sounds great, but I don't know how to do that. When I see rocks, I just see rocks. So here's what I'm going to do for you today. We have, in the system that I use, something that's called the value formula. And with the value formula, you are actually, it's part of the consulting package that we offer to people. And what it does is it helps you to craft the value of what it is that you're selling. Whether it's a product, a service, whatever it is, we package it or we wrap it around this formula that we call the value formula. The value formula for us then becomes the DNA of your marketing. It is the building block of your marketing and of your business and of you selling your product. Because if you understand the value of your product, if you understand how to value your product, and if you understand how other people value your product, you're going to increase the rate at which you monetize significantly. Think about all the products that exist in the black business world now. And think of how many of those products people really don't value. Because it's ultimately up to the entrepreneur themselves to create that value for people. That's the, again, alchemy, marketing, creating value is the number one job of the entrepreneur. There are 8 steps in the value formula, and we're going to walk you through the first 3 steps, just to give you a preview of what's coming in the upcoming course, in which we will certify people in this whole process of becoming an alchemist. The first step in the value formula is focus. Focus is important because it turns out that the more people you're marketing to, the more expensive your marketing costs. So if you decided, I'm just going to market to everybody, or I'm marketing to everybody, it makes it very expensive. And worse, it would be so much easier if you just asked yourself one question: who is most likely to buy my product or service? So you could waste time talking to a bunch of people who are not interested, or you can spend some time figuring out who is interested and focusing on those people. Which one do you think makes more sense? So when you're marketing to people, people want to feel like you're talking specifically to them. So the more specific you can be in your marketing, actually, the more your ability to monetize increases. The second point in the value formula is empathy. Empathy now is the ability to understand, to relate to the fears, the frustration of your prospects and customers. To understand what they're going through and understand how what you're offering them can actually help them through that process in some way. How it actually solves a problem for them. So ask yourself a question with empathy. What is the problem that my product or service solves for the people that I am targeting? And if you cannot come up with a problem that it solves for that group of people, you may not be targeting the right audience. So these are very critical principles to understand. Also, look at the fears and frustrations of your prospects and customers. Understand what they are going through. Understand the things that cause them pain, and understand then how you can articulate those frustrations and fears so that they can relate now to you and your product offering. So now it has meaning for them. It has value because it's looking and speaking directly to what is happening within them, within their heart, within their mind, and within their spirit. The third point, and I hope you're doing these as we go if you have a business, the third point now is the benefits. What are the benefits of your product or service to the people that you're talking to? Very specific. And you want to make sure that you do not confuse a benefit with a feature. A feature in a car might be leather seats, but that's not the benefit. The benefit might be you enjoy a safe, comfortable, luxurious ride That's the benefit. You feel better driving in a car with comfortable seats. That's the benefit. So make sure that when you talk about benefits, you don't characterize them as features. Everybody, according to what we say in the marketing world, everybody listens to the same radio station, WIIFM, which means, what's in it for me? And when you have clarity explaining to people what's in it for them, what does your product do for them, then automatically they are much more interested, much more intrigued, and they can make a better decision about whether your product is actually for them or not. But if you have not yet defined the benefits to them, then it's probably very difficult and very complex for them to make a buying decision that favors you. Those are just the first 3 steps that we use when we deal with our clients, because what it does is it positions any product or service, particularly services, in a way that whoever is being targeted, whoever is being showcased as a potential prospect, understands very clearly now. You have educated them as a consumer about how they can benefit from your product or service. This is a major component or part of alchemy. It is very strategic in terms of how it works, and it requires now you really actually stepping outside of your own desires as a business person and thinking more about your customers. In ancient times, we talked about knowing the self, know thyself. In the business world, you can say that it's all about knowing thy customer, understanding thy customer, which is also ultimately a reflection of who you are, since they are the people that you desire to serve. That concludes our process for now. Those are some ideas that I trust that you go along with, you run with them, you practice them, and you perfect them, and you learn how to master them. Because just using those 3 principles alone, if you're in business right now, I guarantee you will dramatically change the way you market your business and change how much money you're generating, because the focus of your intent is transformed and your thinking becomes more strategic, and ultimately you are positioned in a way where people can value what you're doing. And when people can value what you're doing, the profits will rise. I want to thank you for joining me in this Mastering Monetization series. I hope that you've gained a lot from it. And what's upcoming next is we are rolling out now a program of certification for people who want to master the principles that we've talked about all throughout this presentation or this video series. So in the next video, we will explain that in great detail so you can understand what that's all about. And at the very least, I hope you've gained a lot from this process, and I will get a chance to see you at some point in the near future. Thanks again. I am Aakhu. It's been a pleasure to serve you.